So you want to work as a freelancer, but you don't know how to attract the right clients? Let's talk about how you can build a portfolio that will help you sell your services. Marketing yourself is an art and doesn't come natural to most of us. However, if you're trying to earn some money on the side, or if you're going full time on this whole freelancer thing, you need to be able to sell, which may feel unnatural. However, you've got to do it in order to find clients. So today, let's talk about how you can build a portfolio and what you should keep in mind when building a portfolio, when building a freelancer portfolio that will help you sell your services. Before we get into it, I want to thank Wix for sponsoring this video. Wix is a website builder that gives you the freedom to create, design, manage, and develop your online presence exactly the way you want to. It enables you to create beautiful custom websites and provides a ton of features that will support your personal brand and business. I'll walk you through the process of creating your freelance portfolio with Wix so that you can see how it works behind the scenes. Learn more about Wix and start creating your portfolio website today using the link in the description. Let's start by reviewing your goals for this portfolio. Here's my suggested list, but feel free to edit it or add anything else depending on your context, depending on your situation. Goal number 1 is to get discovered by the right audience. So you got to think about who's that right audience and how are they going to find you. Goal number 2 is to communicate your services. So you need to be able to communicate with your portfolio. How are you going to solve your clients' problems? And also be clear on what types of projects you can help them with. Goal number 3 is to showcase your work, which, by the way, doesn't have to be all paid. Goal number 4 is to build trust, and one of the ways in which you can do it is by using testimonials from previous clients. Goal number 5 is to give clear next steps, and a lot of freelancers have a contact form on their website. You basically want to make sure that your client isn't confused about how they can start working with you. Once they're sold that you're the person that they want to work with, it needs to be very clear on how you can get started. So give clear next steps. And finally, goal number 6 is to brand yourself. Show personality, create expectations on what it would be like to work with you. People like to work with people, and people connect with people. So make sure that you show that. Make sure that you brand yourself. And a lot of people talk about causes that they believe in and things like that, because I think that creates an even stronger connection between people, and people want to support people who believe in the same causes, etc. So brand yourself. Selling is all about connecting a problem with a solution in a language that speaks to your client. So once you figure out what services you're going to offer, think of them in terms of solutions to your client's problems. And in order to speak in your client's language, you need to be able to really understand that client and get into their shoes. It's always a good idea to have a detailed understanding of who your client is, because then you're able to speak to them in their language. And I'd also recommend niching down early on in your freelancing career, because it will simplify this process so much and will help you sell more effectively. And to demonstrate that, I love this quote by Marie Forleo. If you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. I'm sure that in an ideal world, you have an idea of your ideal customer, your ideal client who you want to work with. For example, you might be passionate about the food industry and you want to help small restaurant owners to create solutions, to create websites, etc. Or maybe you want to work with media outlets or sports organizations or weather channels. Let's start attracting that ideal client straight away by having them in mind when creating your portfolio. So think through the following questions and write down your answers. Make sure you write this down. First of all, who is your ideal client? Really imagine them and go beyond the typical demographical factors like age, gender, location, etc. Really visualize them. What is their day-to-day like? What do they enjoy? What do they not enjoy? Where do they shop? What brands do they associate themselves with? What causes do they believe in? What aspirations and dreams do they have in life? Do they own their own business, or are they a freelancer themselves? Do they work for a corporation? What industry are they in, and what's on their mind? Really try to visualize this person in as many details as possible. And especially if you have a friend that basically looks like that person, well, not necessarily looks, but is that person in terms of their world, in terms of where they are right now in life, in terms of what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. It's super, super useful if you can visualize that person and pretend that you are speaking to that person when creating your portfolio. A little side note, because there might be more than one person involved in the decision of whether to hire you or not. Try to speak to the person who does the research, who will end up presenting you to their team, because you need to first convince them that you're worthy presenting you to their team, and then the team would make a decision based on your skills and experience, etc. So of course your work has to speak for itself, but your language and your portfolio needs to speak to the person who's doing the research. I hope that makes sense. Amazing work. Now we have a visualization of what your ideal client looks like. And again, if you know the person that fits that profile in real life, make sure that you visualize that person when writing copy or structuring your portfolio. You're speaking to that person. How will you be able to present this solution that you are offering to them in a language that speaks to them? And again, if you want to go even further, you can do research and interview that person about their problems and day-to-day, etc., to understand them better. That will take you even further. But for now, we're going to go further and create a problem solution statement for every service that you're offering. So for every service that you're going to offer, write down the following answers to the following questions. The first one is, what is the problem that your client is facing? Try to describe it in the words that your client would use to describe it, as if they're telling you this problem themselves. And again, this is where research comes into play. If you can conduct research with people who fit that profile, that's even better, because you have actually first-hand language. Then, for every single one of them, write down what solution would solve their problem. Again, try to use the language, the words that your ideal client would use. And finally, can you solve their problem? If yes, then write down how you're going to solve this problem, and why you're the person they need to hire, why you're the right person to solve their problem. Again, using your client's language, using the language that they would use to describe you in a testimonial. For example, let's say that you've worked with them and they're just giving you a testimonial, and how would they describe you and why you're the right person to solve that problem? Amazing work. I'm so proud of you. It's hard to visualize that sometimes, but you're doing this, and I know that you will be able to sell your products so much better now. So this was a warm-up exercise to get your juices flowing, but make sure that you save what you wrote down, because this is the language that you're going to use in your portfolio. Keep this in mind. Keep this person in mind when we're going to the next stage and we're actually building your portfolio. All right, so now that we've done this, let's talk about the structure of your portfolio website. Of course, the design and the menu and the user experience will also need to speak to your ideal client, and that's why we've done that exercise before we're getting to the structure. However, there are certain elements that every successful portfolio needs to have in order to address the goals that the portfolio has. So your portfolio should have an About Me page, a page that lists your services, or a section that basically talks about your services, showcase of your work, or basically a portfolio section, then testimonials, and finally contact information, next steps. Exactly what we talked about. You want to make sure that your client is not confused about how to start working with you, because essentially that's what you want, right? It may also be a good idea to add a blog to your freelance portfolio, because it will show personality, it will really communicate who you are as a person and help you brand yourself, but also it will help with SEO, with search engine optimization, which is what we want, because, your clients need to be able to discover you. SEO is another thing that we will talk about throughout this video, but you want to make sure that you have put in some intentional thought into it, because again, your clients need to be able to discover you. And finally, social links will be very helpful, because that's another way to showcase your work and brand yourself. And this may involve any social media links and also GitHub, because again, that's another portfolio option for you. All right, I'm going to switch to my laptop where I'm going to build a mock freelance portfolio website, going through the different sections, and give you some advice on how to structure them, how to approach them, etc. Let's get into it.
Here's our last Christmas cookie. I painted myself, pretty proud of it. But yeah, I'm about to devour this, get some cookie energy, and get into it.
Let's do this. All right, so your portfolio on Wix. Let's start with creating a new website. And it basically asks you what kind of website do you want. It was a portfolio or CV, and we're going to use the editor, because there are a ton of different templates that you can choose from. And I love templates. Templates are awesome, especially if you're not a designer like me and you can get design inspiration or something like that. All right, so let's choose a design. Oh, I love this one. Let's see. I love the concept, but it's a bit too busy for me, so let's go with this one. I like this one too. Woohoo! All right, so there's our template. It's very simple. You can see that there are 4 different sections, 4 pages, because it's not one of those parallax scrolling one. It's just, there's a menu and a clear navigation system from that. Again, you can see that here. So there's about me, there's resume, where we can, we will customize this, of course. Projects. All right, great. We have a great structure that we can build on. Let's start with the About Me page. I love this design. This is so simple, so sleek, so clean. I also really like the colors, to be honest. You can actually, in the theme manager, you can set your colors for the page, which I find very, very useful. And I did that in the other websites that I built with Wix. So since I'm building a mock portfolio, I'm not going to list out the details. I'm not going to go into details with the copy. I'm going to use my cupcake lorem ipsum, which you may have seen from other videos because I love it. Love being reminded of desserts that are out there for me to make at some point. But more on the About Me page. So the About Me page is the place where you can show personality, really tell your story and communicate who you are. I highly recommend thinking through the language again as if you were talking to your ideal client. How would you tell your story to them? Think about also adding your education and how you got into freelancing, because a lot of people really like when they have context on people, when they think that they understand you. So I highly recommend adding that as well and thinking through that intentionally. Finally, on your About Me page, as you can see here, there are some calls to action, and I highly encourage you to create calls to action and add calls to action in your About Me page as well, because once they get to know you, once your clients get to know you, they would want to work with you, right? And you want to make sure that it's super easy for them, super clear as to what the next action should be, and basically sprinkle the text, sprinkle it with calls to action. It's always a very good idea. All right, let's get started. Let's get my cupcake lorem ipsum. Let's pretend that this is the text that tells my story in the language that is relatable, that speaks to my client, and tells my story. Let's do... You put your title there. Actually, no, you know what? I'm gonna put Stereotype Breaker because that's what I like to associate with. Perfect. Add an image. Because this is a new website, I don't have any images here, so let's upload it. Yes, an image that we're going to use, and let's move it around. Great. Hello, Masha Zvereva, Stereotype Breaker. Here's who I am and what I do. I think that's good. We can leave it as that. This is a mock portfolio, and we should also change that here. I like this font. What is this font? Avenir Light. Maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but I like it. I'm not going to change it to my normal Montserrat of Masha. Started writing Montserrat. Doesn't quite fit, but drag and drop, baby. I like it. Don't love this blue, and let's change it in the theme. I just don't like that. I like it more, yeah, like this. Powdery, is that the word? This is much more like me. I like that. I love it. We're gonna get to the footer later. I'm not going to do anything with that. I love this. I'm going to update these links. Let's do that, social bar. I love this link editor. I know I've said that before. It's just so easy to link anything. It's amazing. It's awesome user experience. And of course, as I previously said, add any other social media that you think would portray your brand in a positive way. And of course, add your GitHub if you think that would help your clients get to know your work better, and if it gives you credibility. Even if you just have personal projects there, that's, you're still showcasing your skills, and it's all about that. It's all about building trust by showcasing your skills, building credibility in front of your client. Great. Okay. Wonderful. Let's get to the next section, which is going to be showcasing listing your services. So let's, instead of resume, let's change that section to services. Had a little mental eclipse there. Great, services, and let's make sure it has already changed on the navigation stuff. This is great. This is wonderful. So let's go to that services page. Oh, before we go there, let's make sure that this, yes, we would like to link it to services. Yes, done. And projects, how are we going to call it? Previous work. Let's call it previous work. Let's say, again, name it as what you think your ideal client would call it, so that you're speaking to your ideal client, but we're going to call it previous work. To make sure that it's the same size, I'm just going to do this. Nice. So let's move on to services. So I'm going to change this. Obviously, this is a CV section. I'm going to completely change this, and I'm going to use one of the pre-designed elements. I like this one. I think this one would work well here. So services. This is the space where you can clearly communicate your services that you're offering. So these are the types of projects that I would take on. For example, these are the services that I can offer you. And again, use the language that you wrote down during that exercise that we did on what solutions you're offering your ideal client. Because again, this should be speaking to them. This should communicate to them why you're the right person that can help them. Also, some people group up their services in a package. So let's say a social media audit, or I don't know, a website redesign of a certain scope. You have to make sure that the scope stays the same, and in that way you can productize and create packages of services. And yeah, basically in that case, yes, you're selling services, but it's more of a product. And in that case, sometimes it's a good idea to list your price, to showcase your price in order to create expectations on basically what it would cost to work with you. And finally, if you're offering services that require different skills, let's say it's in different programming languages or something like that, I would recommend showcasing your skills in those areas, by linking the projects, the previous work that you have done that is relevant, that showcases your skills. Let's get to designing our mock page. So, cupcake lorem ipsum. We're gonna say biscuit. The second one has been decided, it's gonna be a bonbon. And the last one is gonna be a penguin cookie. I'm mourning for my friend. It took me a while to create his sweater. Danish tiramisu croissant, chocolate bar, sesame snaps, candy canes. All right, let's get into the design of this thing. And the first thing I want to change is the design of these buttons. What's great is that there's a library of themed buttons and also just a ton of other buttons that you can use. So you know what? I'm just gonna use these ones and it changes all of them. Biscuit, what font is it? Let's customize the design. Avenir. Okay, we've used Avenir before, which is great. This is what we want. Avenir, I like this text. I don't like this text. So let's change that. Let's change the design of that button. It's just going to be a read more button, and let's get rid of that vector art. Another thing that I love is that it synchronizes across all three of them, so that's perfect. Okay, images, cookie carrot cake. We're going to go into Wix Media. Oh my god, so many options. It's a popcorn cake. I don't care. It looks good. We're going to use it. I feel like I'm a bakery at this point, which I don't mind. I would love to be a bakery. That's always been my dream. Great. We have our services. I like this design. I don't want to change anything else. I'm going to delete all of the rest over here because it's irrelevant in this case. But of course, add all of the services that you're providing. Make sure that you don't overwhelm your readers. So don't like duplicate things, but list the services that you need to list. Great, wonderful. I like it. Let's go to previous work. I learned English in the UK, so I cannot get rid of the U's in favorite, previous, and all those things. So. And I don't know like which ones don't require a U at this point, so I'm just sticking to my U. Let's make sure that this button links to the previous work. Yeah, previous work. Okay, great. Wonderful. Let's go to previous work and see what we're going to do. Oh my god, I love this. I love this design. It's super simple. This is actually how we're going to structure it too. We're going to anchor these sections. That's what I've come up with. We're going to anchor these sections, meaning that they will become a link within that page. And we're going to link those anchors from the services page so that you can, if you say read more, or actually I'm going to rename that button to say like show example or example of my work or previous work. Just thinking on the spot right here. And I'm going to link it to the anchor on this section. So let's do that. We're going to have a theme going on with the other with the services page because I decided to link them. So I'm going to do that right now. But before we get into it, actually, I want to talk about the projects, previous projects, or showcasing your work section. It is very tempting to just showcase all of the projects that you've ever worked on because you're proud of them, right? And they do showcase your skills. However, I urge you to stay away from that. I don't want to say that's a trap, but you want to make sure that you showcase the gems, the ones that are super relevant to whatever you're doing right now. You don't want your potential client to get lost in all of the projects. Like, sure, they will think that you are very skilled in so many different random things, but you want to make sure that you showcase the skills that your client needs to know about. So yeah, pick your projects to be super relevant to whatever you're trying to sell, whatever services you're trying to sell, whatever problems you're hoping to solve for your client. Another tip is keep this section dynamic. As you work on more projects, and those projects are more relevant to what you're offering, or if your offering is changing, right? You want to make sure that this section reflects your offering and reflects your most recent, most relevant projects. And if you're just starting out and you don't have enough paid work to display your free projects. Or if you don't have enough free projects, go and get some, right? Build a website for your local coffee shop or charity that you believe in, or anything else, right? There's so many opportunities to get experience, to get projects on your portfolio, so go out and do that. And finally, one more thing, it's always good to ask your client if, for example, you have a new project that you worked on with a client and you want to showcase it on your portfolio. It's always a good idea to ask them if they're all right with you doing that, because most of the time they will say yes, but it's just good manners and good client relationship management. So, okay, let's get into this cupcake lorem ipsum nonsense. Again, I'm sticking to roughly the length of these designs, but you can always drag and drop them and like make them look prettier and whatever, customize them to however much you want to communicate. You also don't want to overwhelm your client with too much text. Another thing that you can do is you can add pages, right? Manage pages, you can add them here and create a detailed page about this project in particular and walk the client through your process, through how you did it, the results, etc. But we're just going to stick to a very simple format for this mock portfolio. So we have customized this. Let's add an anchor. So menu, anchors. Let's add it here. Another thing that you need to consider with projects, if you have live links to the projects, let's say you worked on somebody's website, right, or somebody's platform, if you have live links to your work, make sure that you include it because work speaks louder than words. So let's go and add a link, and we're gonna go to anchor, and you see we have anchor on previous work. Yep, and that's anchor number 1. I can change the name of it. Let's check how that works. So when I press on previous projects, it takes me to Tootsie Roll. Yes, amazing, that works. Great. Let's customize the image, and we can have media from Wix. Let's continue on our roll. Wonderful, I love this. I love this dessert theme. So I've showed you how I customized one of these. I'm going to go ahead and customize the other 2 in my own time, just so that we can move on to another section. So the next section that we're going to work on is testimonials. And testimonials are wonderful for anyone who wants to sell their services because they help you gain trust and build credibility in front of your potential clients. So make sure that you collect them and display them proudly. What I do whenever working with clients is every client that I've worked with, I ask for a testimonial. And I basically collect all of the testimonials in a Google Doc, and I use them whenever is relevant, right? And I don't display all of them necessarily, I display my favorite ones, but still I have all these testimonials, so make sure that you ask your clients for them. Finally, if you don't have testimonials yet, that's not the end of the world. However, they're very helpful when it comes to gaining your potential clients' trust, and they basically help you sell your services. So it is a good idea to look out for them. So if you've done work in the past for certain clients and they were happy campers, go reach out to them and ask them for a testimonial. Or you can go the other route and offer your services to someone for free and ask them for a testimonial in return. People will very much appreciate that, especially if you're trying to get more projects for your portfolio to begin with. Just, that coffee shop, that website for that coffee shop next door that you're building as part of your previous work, something to display. Ask them for a testimonial. That easy. All right, so let's go and do that. Let's add a page. And what's wonderful here is that there are also templates for these pages, and it's already in the style that I am using. There was also a services page. I could have done it this route, but whatever, Actually, I'm going to use a team template to create the testimonials page. I really like this one. So let's do that. So testimonials, let's get into it. Because it's a mock portfolio, I'm gonna keep the images. Let's have some fun here. All right, I'm not gonna display social links or anything, but let's add some text. And you know what? We're going to make it italic. Wonderful. Marzipan King has some good stuff to say. All right, you know what? I've decided that for the sake of keeping this shorter, I'm going to delete the other two, but you get the idea. Basically, we're adding some testimonials, and in your case, it will be real people, real testimonials, but I'm having some fun here because it's a mock portfolio and I can. I just wanted to add a little strip to separate the testimonials from the footer because that just felt right for me. We're done with testimonials. Let's move on to contact, or the next steps that you want somebody to take when they see your portfolio, right? You want to make sure that they know how to work with you. You don't want to confuse them about the next steps once they're sold on your services. And one of the ways to do that is through a contact form. For example, we already have one here, and you can always customize the messages on the form. That's what I do on my website as well. Whenever I have a request from clients, I basically ask them for custom fields so that it's more intentional, it's more intentional, first of all, on their behalf, but also I get the information that I need when I receive their message to determine whether this is a good fit or not. Because essentially, I want to be able to solve their problem, and I want to determine whether I will be able to solve their problem. I love this form. I think it's super easy, super clear. Maybe add another field. Let's add a drop-down field for the services that we have listed. And we can also edit things like adding a message or whatever. So that's great. Instead of let's talk, let's say let's work together. Great, so I love the look of this. The only thing that I will change is this footer. The footer is looking good. So one more thing that I did mention before is you may want to consider starting a blog, and that will help you add personality and also basically add more brownie points to your SEO, because search engines generally like fresh content, and also it helps you stand out as a thought leader in a subject, etc., etc. There are multiple different benefits to having a blog. And here you can add a blog with Wix's handy blog app, which is basically here, and all you have to do is say add now, and then it loads a blog. You can decide to have a members area for it, but we're just gonna have a blog, a simple blog. There it is, there's your content management system already. Manage posts. Let's see what posts I have, because a lot of times it comes preloaded. Wow, we have 3 published posts. Look at that. So we have this blog page, and we can add, it's here, we can add it to the menu. Obviously I would rename it all caps because that's the style here. But yeah, you can start blogging and growing your personal brand. Even if you decide not to have a blog, it's very important to make sure that your website your portfolio is optimized for being found in search. So you make sure that you are intentional about your SEO. And Wix has some tools that are super handy for that as well. Let's go into them. So here they are. There are a lot of different tools that you can use. These are super helpful. I actually used to work for an SEO company, and let me just tell you, this is what they did for their clients, and this is built in. This is wonderful. So all you need to do is let's go, and it takes you through this whole process, and you can optimize your website for a search engine. We're not going to go through this right now, but I just want you to know that this exists. And also there are other business tools. So if you're serious about running your business, you will know that there are so many different things that go into running a business, and that includes finances, customer management, etc. And there's some really handy tools that Wix provides, including customer relationship management, invoicing, keeping track of your finances, etc. It's very, very handy. And yeah, here are your contacts, for example. You can automate workflows. I love that. So they're super handy if you're running your business, and especially if you're a solopreneur and you don't have many people that you can delegate these tasks to. This will take care of all of them. So there you have it, a simple structure for your freelance portfolio that will help you sell your services and solve your clients' problems. We've covered a lot today, and I tried to keep it simple and short, not to overwhelm you. However, if you have any specific questions or general questions, let me know in the comments. I would love to continue this conversation over there. Start attracting your ideal clients today by building a beautiful freelance portfolio website with Wix. The link is in my description. Let me know in the comments if you have any additional tips for tech freelancers on how they can build their portfolio websites and how they can attract their ideal clients. Like this video if you've enjoyed it, and share it with your freelancer friends. We can also be friends on other social media. You can find me as Coding Blonde. Have a wonderful time today you're currently experiencing. Bye.